So, welcome back to Introduction to Mixing, a free class for composers and producers who want to learn how to mix their own music. And today we're continuing our lessons with one of the most important skills needed for mixing, which is how to find the balance of your different tracks. So, balancing is basically just the process of finding a good volume level for each track, so that each instrument in your arrangement sounds balanced with each of the others. Aside from making sure your composition and arrangement are solid, getting your balance right is one of the most important steps to making your music sound professional and polished. And there are tons of different strategies and philosophies behind what makes a good balance. But for our purposes, we're just going to focus on using something called the pink noise method, which is a great strategy for finding a scientifically adequate balance. Pink noise is a type of static that contains all of the frequencies audible to the human ear, with equal energy per octave. This means that each of the frequencies are perfectly balanced, and this makes it an immensely useful tool for mixing music. Essentially, you can use pink noise as a reference to figure out the ideal volume levels for each of your tracks. A lot of professional engineers recommend using pink noise as a starting point for your mix, to help create a solid scientific balance, if you will. And then they'll say you can use things like reference tracks or even good old-fashioned personal taste to make small adjustments until you have the sound you want. But since this course is focused on foundational skills, we're just going to stick to the pink noise method for now. First things first, let's listen to our not-so-balanced arrangement again, so that we have an idea of what we're working with. All right, so first, we're going to need a sample of some pink noise. There's a link in the description of this video where you can download an audio file containing pink noise, but most DAWs will have noise generators built in, or at least synths with noise generators. You can use either method if you'd prefer, but for whatever reason, I've just always preferred working with an audio track, so that's what we're going to do here. Once you have your pink noise, step number 2 is to make sure that your entire mix is set to mono. So stereo tracks allow you to pan your music, making individual instruments sound like they're placed somewhere specific to either your right or left. And this is great for creating realistic and interesting mixes, but it's not so ideal for finding a good balance using this particular method. So instead, we're going to want to make sure each of our tracks are set to very simple mono tracks, which don't have the same ability. All DAWs have some kind of built-in mono summing utility for temporarily converting stereo tracks to mono. In Cubase, it's found in the control room, where I can just click on this simple little mono button, and boom, everything is set to mono. But if for whatever reason you don't have access to this in your DAW, or you'd rather just use a standalone plugin, there are plenty of different options out there. Just Google free mono summing plugin and you'll find one that works for your particular computer and DAW. But once everything has been set from stereo to mono, step number 3 is to set the appropriate volume level for your pink noise. And for this, we're going to need a LUFS meter. LUFS are a method for measuring perceived volume based on the overall loudness of a track. So unlike using a decibel meter, where it's just going to tell you what the peak volume is, LUFS will basically give you an idea of how loud your track is going to sound in general to an audience. Most DAWs are going to have a built-in LUFS meter. I'm using the one here in the Cubase control room. If you're also using Cubase, you can find it in the same spot, but depending on which DAW you're working with or whether you'd rather just use a freestanding plugin, that's up to you, but it should be pretty simple to identify. Once I have my LUFS meter pulled up, I'm going to bring up the mix console for my pink noise. And my goal is to set the pink noise to approximately -20 LUFS. which tends to be a pretty decent reference point for most instrumental genres of music. In this particular case, I'm using the short-term LUFS as my reference, since this measures the average loudness every couple of seconds. So keeping an eye on that, I adjust the fader of my pink noise every couple seconds until I have found the average of about minus 20 LUFS. So once my pink noise is set to the appropriate level, the final step is to get all of my faders to minus infinity. In other words, I'm using my faders to mute every single one of my tracks, except for the stereo buses that we set up last video. Then, one at a time, I'm going to identify a moment where I can loop each individual instrument and listen to it compared to the pink noise. So here I have my flute, which we can't hear because it's been muted, but you can see that's playing the melody. I'm going to unmute the pink noise, and I'm going to listen. As that flute part repeats, I'm going to slowly increase the fader until I can just barely hear the flute above the pink noise. And right about there works for me. As you do this, make sure you're not blasting the volume through your headphones. You want to take care of your ears. Just pick a typical volume that you would listen to music softly at and mix from there. Now, if for whatever reason you struggle to hear the track, which can occasionally happen, depending on the instrument, you can use a spectrometer as a helpful assist. This is actually a tip I got from Venus Theory's channel a few years back. A spectrometer helps visualize the different frequencies in a track. For example, this is what my flute looks like. And this is what the pink noise looks like. If I'm looking at the spectrometer for the master bus, when only my flute and my pink noise are unmuted, I want to find a level where my flute can just barely start to peek out above the pink noise. So if it's still buried, or if it's still sticking out way far above the noise, it needs to be adjusted. But once I see those little bumps pop out, I know it's good enough. It's very subtle, but it's right around here that you can see it. Regardless of whether you use this trick or not, you'll want to repeat this step for each track in your mix, comparing each track one at a time to your pink noise until you have found the proper balance for each of them. Then, when you're done, set your tracks back to stereo and give it a quick listen. If you don't notice any glaring issues, you're good. The more time you spend on this step, the more accurate your balance is going to sound. But even after only a few minutes of effort, you can immediately hear results. So let's give a quick listen to our mix and see how it sounds now. Already much better, especially that piano. That piano was pretty glaring to start out with, so pulling it back has had a big impact. From here, I'd go through and I'd make small little tweaks here and there based off my preferences. For example, I think the triangle is still a little bit loud, so I'd probably bring it back a little bit. And I might go through and I might boost a couple instruments here and there when they're playing the melody, just momentarily while they play the melody. But that has to do with personal taste. And if you're just looking for a basic rudimentary mix, sticking to just the pink noise method is more than enough. And with that, we have reached the end of another video, my friends. In the next lesson, we are going to discuss the next step in mixing, which is going to be panning. But until then, I'd like to thank my generous patrons, channel members, and donors who make videos like this one possible. And I appreciate each of you more than you realize. So until next time, my friends, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. I'll see you in the next video.